All right, welcome everyone to the SandStorm Meetup. We are live inside of the SandStorm Social Hub. Today, I'm joined by Satiris and Zen or Ben. Do you want me to call you Zen or Ben?
Ben or Zen. Ben's probably best. Makes the most sense.
Okay,
Thanks.
they're on today from Voxodeus. How you guys doing?
Very, very well, thank you.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you so much for having us on.
Yeah,
Very excited to be
thank
here.
thank you guys for coming on. I really do appreciate it. And we see some of the Voxodeus voxels walking around here in the sandbox. These are
Yeah,
cool.
so cool.
Everyone's dancing.
It's party time. Let's get hype. Yeah, it's so cool to see all the different avatars live. And yeah, we've got quite a few different character types. So we've got like 32 different character types in total, and then each with like a bunch of variants. And so it's actually really cool to see them in game right now.
Yeah.
It's super true. Yeah, we're so used to seeing them completely static, and obviously we try and fill them with as much like life as possible. But like nothing beats actually seeing a thing move.
Yeah, I like the ones with the lights around them.
Yeah, the stars.
Yeah, the
Nice.
stars. Yeah, those are cool.
So those ones are actually like super rare or ultra rare characters. So they've got these kind of like gleam sprites around them, which is pretty sweet.
So
And,
how
Cubes as well.
how did he get these like in the sandbox? I guess so. Like, because I know Slade doesn't own all these.
So this one is more for like demo purposes, and
Yeah.
so this has been set up behind the scenes. But for our Voxo holders, hopefully next month we should be dropping our phase 1 avatars. So each person who owns a Voxo will then be able to claim their like corresponding Sandbox avatar as a separate NFT, and then they can use them in their own kind of land, in their own games. And also because they're like a separate NFT, they can be used as like NPCs. So for people who are making their own like gaming experiences, you can kind of have all your characters roaming about as well, which is pretty cool. And so that'll be free as well for anyone who owns a Voxo. They'll be able to claim their matching Sandbox avatar.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say that, like, especially like the ones with the stars. I was wondering that if someone can like create a sandbox experience and then like kind of make that like the final boss.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Like an ultra rare army. You gotta like battle through all the different ones, all the different stages.
Yeah, because some people they're already making like some pretty cool sandbox experiences, and yeah, there's always NPCs that you have to fight in the game, and I was like, oh, it'd be cool if you could own these and make them like the characters that you're fighting or the character that you're playing or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
Pretty dope.
Very much so. Also with this as well, it's pretty cool because we're actually doing the avatars in 2 phases. So phase 1 will be these NPC avatars. So they'll be like a separate NFT. So the nice thing there is people can also sort of like trade these as well. So if someone's trying to like create a specific game experience, they might be after, say, a whole bunch of like robot characters. And so for those holding a robot, then like suddenly you've now got a separate NFT for free that might be sought after by someone else.
Yeah.
And then later on in the year, once the Sandbox multiplayer is live, every Voxo will then link directly to a 1-of-1 custom avatar. And so the actual Voxo NFT itself will be the kind of like ticket to unlocking your custom avatar. And then that'll be playable like all throughout the sandbox.
Yeah.
So that should be a pretty big step. And just a fun thing on that, actually, we were like the first project to officially partner with the Sandbox on launching these custom avatars.
Oh, wow.
And so the only other projects currently doing that are Bored Apes and CryptoPunks. So we're in
good company.
We're in pretty good company.
Yeah.
And the difference is our floor price is currently about 0.2 versus about 100 ETH. So for anyone wanting to check out the project, now might be a good time to get in.
Yeah. So yeah, if anyone in chat has any questions, feel free to leave them, and I will be sure to try to ask those. I got excited seeing these things walk around. I kind of just skipped over doing the intro. So I guess, tell me a little bit about your guys' self. How'd you guys get started in the space, and kind of like what got you guys started on this project?
Sure. Maybe Ben, I can start this one. But
of course, it makes sense. You were the beginning of this thing.
Yeah. So last year, so sort of towards 2 years ago now, damn. So late 2020, I kind of had the first inklings of what's now become sort of Voxodeus. So for me personally, I've been just kind of like a retail investor in crypto since 2016. But I've always been like passionate about the space and keeping a close eye on things. But my background is design. So I'm by trade a product designer. Before doing this, I was designing surgical robots, and before that, like high-end cinematography drones. So my background's always been a lot of like 3D kind of products and stuff. And then NFTs. So I've always wanted to like do something in crypto, but until NFTs really came about, I couldn't quite find my fit, because I wasn't coming from like a finance background or like a programming background. But with the world of NFTs, it kind of bridged crypto with design. So for my interest and skill set, I thought it was quite a cool opportunity. And then I sort of could see the trend of crypto punks and stuff picking up. And so I was like, I would love to do an NFT collection, but at the time, everything was just like 2D. So I was like, why is no one doing like 3D assets for this kind of stuff? And so I thought it'd be really cool to have like a large scale collection, but all in 3D. So straight off the bat, we launched all our NFTs as like full 3D assets with a custom viewer embedded into OpenSea, so you can actually like twist the model, zoom in, zoom out, play custom audio, like change all the background scenes, and all of that. So that was kind of the genesis of it. I was like, we should do sort of NFT collection straight into 3D. And then I managed to partner with our like co-founder who had like a lot of like expertise with the blockchain side of things. So he's been in the industry for about 6 years. And then the last piece of the puzzle we were missing was a creative powerhouse. And so
title
very, very early on, I managed to convince Ben, who's a close friend, to join me in this journey. And just for a little bit of context on Ben, sorry to like talk for you, but
there you go.
He was running his own indie game studio, and so they got seed funding from Microsoft. And he just secured like a new big publishing deal, and I somehow managed to convince him to also do Voxodeus with me.
Pretend that there is more time in the day than there actually is. Yeah, it's true. So like this is I'm terrible with time as well. This is what, a year ago now, a year and a half, a year or so ago.
Yeah, about a year.
And Satiris, like, yeah, we hang out pretty regularly, and he sent me a message one day talking about this NFT thing, which I knew nothing about, like literally no.
Do you think he was crazy?
I was like, yeah, because he's basically like, hey man, I know we meet up whenever we can. Do you want to do more work than you're currently doing? And I was just like, haha, nonsense. I've got a full-time job. What are you talking about? But we met up, and the pitch was pretty compelling, because it was just like, okay, you've been working on this game for a while, you've still got some time to go, but I really want to do a collection of things that have a similar art direction to my existing project.
Mhm.
And it was like my background, like I studied film and narratology. I worked as a copywriter for a while in Hong Kong as a script writer. So I've always kind of been in like the visual and the lore and the narrative. And in as a game designer, I'm, you know, it's as an indie game designer, you kind of wear a whole bunch of hats, right? Like you're a writer and you're a level designer and you're a QA and all those things. And
Mhm.
Satiris came to me with like, we want to do world building, we want to make a universe, we want to kind of make something really interesting that has the legs to go way beyond just being a collection, but we want it to also look good as heck. And so that was kind of fun, and it just coincided with me dabbling a little bit with Magic of Voxel, which is the really awesome like free voxel editing software that we've a whole bunch of people use, and it's, you know, it's pretty like unknown to an extent, but it was like I was messing around with that, just wanting to learn how to use it, and so it was just like a happy accident that like that was on the cards for me, and Satiris brought this up, and so we were like, all right, let's give it a go. Like, let's just start designing and see what we can make. And we know the timeline is fast, and we know the space is like ludicrously quick. And so
Mhm.
it was quite exciting because in contrast to working on a long-term project like a console video game, it's like we could pool some really good ideas together and make something really rich, but really brief. That was the intent anyway, at the time.
Yeah.
And now it's morphed into
Yeah.
a year long company, like 25 people.
I mean, it grows, but that's a
things-
happy consequence, right? Like that's a good thing.
Very.
Which
very
one do
happy
you
consequence.
which one do you like working on more, the indie game or this?
Wow, funny you should say that.
It's impossible to say, because of course I love them both equally in different ways.
Mhm.
Now it's hard. Like on this project, I get to work with a lot of my best friends, the closest people in my life, on something that has really kind of open parameters.
Yeah.
Game design is hard as heck, and so that can be stressful, but it's rewarding in a totally different set of ways. You know, like games are kind of my thing, so the end product of that will always be close to my heart, but it's a totally different scale. Like this stuff is so exciting because it gets so big, it's so broad.
Yeah.
And
You
sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say as well about the kind of aesthetic direction we ended up going for. So when I first approached Ben on this, I was thinking of doing something like low poly models. I basically just wanted to copy the game he was already building because it looks so sick, and I was like, this aesthetic's perfect. So I was like, Ben, can we just make your characters NFTs? But then Ben actually suggested going the voxel route, and so as far as the very, very, very high level lore that I pitched to Ben, I was like, I want to create a universe, but I want it to be sort of in the blockchain. So a little bit like Tron, where they're in this kind of like digital universe. But obviously with like NFTs and crypto, we're like, oh, blockchain. And so then Ben was like, oh, have you thought about using like this voxel aesthetic? And I was like, no, not super familiar. And then a voxel is a 3D pixel essentially, so they're all made up of little cubes. And so when he showed me that and showed me some like cool examples of what could be done with it, I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like
it feels apt, right? Like it feels so
apt.
So appropriate.
And then off that we got super lucky because that also then happens to be the exact same aesthetic direction as the Sandbox. So we were super fortunate with our kind of sort of
your
connection
vision
with them, and yeah, just kind of lucky really. And then with the Sandbox,
Sure.
like Sebastian's the COO, absolutely amazing. He's so open and willing to collaborate, even for us. Like we literally just launched, and I reached out on their Discord just being like, we do voxels as well, this is what we've got going on, and straight away he reached out to us, and we were very fortunate that they loved our kind of aesthetic direction, our style, like especially what we're doing with voxels, all thanks to Ben as well. But quite often voxels can have a somewhat like childlike aesthetic if you're not careful, because they're quite limited in the sort of resolution. But with Ben's kind of creative direction and character design, we've actually created some like really badass looking voxel characters. And so I think yeah, he's very modest. Working him like a horse, just like, oh, we need 6,000 characters, chop chop.
So Ben's the one that did all the characters.
So he had quite a large team. So Ben, Ben, you can maybe describe.
Yeah, completely. Like, so basically, the way it went was like, okay, I got into Magical Voxel, and the first thing that we did before we had anybody else working on the project, when it was just us as the core team, I was just modeling and sending content to Satiris and Shireen and the other guys, and just being like, what do you think? Give me feedback. And we had this very quick, iterative round of just trying to identify the art direction. And once we had one character, essentially like our Ryu for the roster, we then went
the samurai guy.
Yeah. Once we'd locked him down, we then started actually like sketching and designing the rest of the characters. I think like by the end of the project, I touched all of them in terms of voxels. That sounds weird. Like I did a lot of the voxel modeling for a lot of the characters, and then we got to a point where the number we needed was just like, okay, we really need like many hands,
more people.
Yeah, and
voxel models.
And that's the thing is like I think every artist who touched a character, like they brought something to it. And so that's kind of why I say like it's a team effort, because I think everybody kind of brought something that made those characters what they are. We very quickly found that like certain artists were really good at like robots, but because they liked the non-organic style and it's kind of like Gundam vibes. And then there were other people who worked way better with the really organic like humanoid type things. And so it was a lot of fun kind of getting the team right, and then seeing how the designs kind of evolved as a result of that process.
Yeah.
Also with that, we end up working with 6 different voxel artists. So we had 4 guys on characters. We had 1 guy just dedicated to the cube that the guy's currently dancing on. So that's that Voxo cube is what all of the characters kind of emerge from. So when you first minted our characters, you'd get that kind of interactive cube, and then after like 24 hours, it reveals which character you have. And then we also have another guy just dedicated to doing all the backgrounds. So each Voxo, like the NFT, has a character, but it also comes with like 1 or more like these really intricate detailed backgrounds. So that guy also works with like crypto cities as well, which do a lot of like the super intricate voxel models.
Those things are rad.
So cool. So cool. So we wanted to do that as well, where each character is kind of placed within this kind of little snippet of a world. But then obviously all of this was done under Ben's direction and following Ben's character designs. And then as Ben mentioned, he would do kind of like a final pass on everything. But as far as the collection goes, maybe I can just take a minute to kind of explain the breakdown and all the different character types.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, because do you say there's like 32 different species?
32 different archetypes. And so we've got our own terminology with stuff. I think you could classify them as species as well, but just to be aligned with kind of how we're naming things. We've got 32 different archetypes. So this is different types of characters. And then that's split across 6 species. And in reality, we shouldn't have called it species, because that's not the correct term. It's like maybe a phylum or something. But as far as our species go, or taking a slight step back, sorry. From the highest level, when we were first creating this collection, I wanted to make it kind of accessible to as many different people as possible. And so I was looking at what CryptoPunks did, and drawing quite a lot of inspiration from how they structured their project. And one of the big things I noticed was with their project, they had quite prominent like price bands across the different species. And so the male and female characters were generally the lowest priced and the most accessible. But then as soon as you went up to like an ape or a zombie, the price just shot up.
I think I saw an ape sell for like 7 million yesterday.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And so given that distribution, it meant like obviously someone who could maybe afford a male punk might not be able to afford an ape. Or very, very few people can afford an ape, let alone an alien or whatever. So I thought it would be quite interesting to like create that like hierarchy within this collection, because it meant people who were minting could then potentially mint something like the equivalent of an alien or a punk. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then I still wanted to go a little bit deeper than that. And so for our distribution, we currently have, but not currently, it's just what it is. But what we've got is one Omega. So that's the kind of like the rarest of the rare character. So the Omega was this kind of mystical being that created the Cypherverse, or created the part of the Cypherverse these Voxos are in. And then below that, we have 8 Ascendi, who are these kind of like godlike kind of top tier characters. Below that, we then have the Exos, which are these animal like characters. So we've got like a bull, a bird, a cat, and an ape as for those kind of characters. And then one level below that, we've got orgs, which are these cyborg characters. So we've got 128 of those. So those kind of top 4 species are the kind of like the rarest,
more rare,
the rarest offerings. And so then after that, we take a much bigger jump to the sapien category. So there we've got 2,048 sapiens. So they're all the like humanoid characters. And then below that, we have the robots. And so we've got 4,095 robots. So all in all, we've got 6,312 Voxos distributed across, say, like 1, 8, 32, 128, 2046, and then 4096. So it's kind of like a pyramid of distribution. But then within each species type, that's where we get these different kind of archetypes. So we have 9 different robot characters. We've got 6 different sapien characters. We've got 4 different orgs, 4 different exos, 8 ascendi, and the 1 omega. So that's kind of where you get the 32 different characters. But then within that, though, I wanted to make sure like each character was unique. And so not just like color palette, but also geometrically unique. So even the samurai character, for example, he has lots of different weapons, some different clothing types. He's meant to be this kind of like old boy samurai. So he's kind of got like a slick back hair and a ponytail type thing, and then a beard. But then they've also got like 3 or 4 different faces, different like facial hair, different like hairstyles. So there's one with like an afro, like Afro samurai. Which is pretty cool. And so that's where we get this like real richness to the collection. So even though there's like 32 characters, there's still a massive amount of variety. And then just to finish this very complex monologue
that you will be tested on, by the way.
that you will be tested on, and I'll be posting some answers and like questions in the chat. Probably should have made it more simple in reflection, but it is what it is. So we've got
Voxo Fox finally going into more detail. I mean, I was wanting.
So we've got the 32 different archetypes split across the 6 species. But then, for example, we've got 4,000 of these robots. So I then wanted to add like another layer of richness to each kind of species bracket. So even if you could only afford a robot, you could still have quite a lot of variance even amongst that kind of species bracket. So with that, we then introduce factions and like rarity. So we've got 4 different factions, and they are sort of distributed unevenly. So 10% are the Shen tanks. So that's like the most rare faction. And then at 20% and 20% distribution, we've got Luma Systemica and Polarian. And then the 4th faction is 50% of the distribution, and that's Corpo Vendrix. So even if you've got a robot, if you've got a Shen tank, that's more sought after than if you've got a Corpo, for example. So it kind of still adds this kind of strata of rarity.
I like that. Yeah.
And then, if it wasn't complicated enough, we have one more thing to throw into the mix. I'm a simple man. I like Pokemon.
Love Pokemon.
So I was like, I want a shiny Pokemon kind of equivalent. What can we do? So that's where we get the different rarity types. So not only do we have the species and the archetypes and the factions, then across the whole collection, we also have 3 types of rarity. So we have the most common type, which is called rare. And then we've got super rare and ultra rare. So 80% are rare. So they're the normal characters you kind of see walking about, just no sparkly things or anything like that. Then we've got 19% of the characters as super rare. So they've got like the kind of like sparkly cubes floating around them. And then what's on screen now at the top left is an ultra rare. So they've got a whole bunch of sparkles, like more complex, different shapes, and things like that. And so only 1% are ultra rare. So with all of that, we try to just create this like really rich spread of characters, rarity, factions, and just create like a real richness to the collection that could hopefully give like an entry point for anyone coming to the project.
Because that way, there's a lot of projects that you mint and everyone's just going for the cream, like you said, like the aliens and the apes or the zombies, and then like if they don't get those, and they're like, oh, I just got like a regular. But like with this, you could even get a robot, but you could get a super rare robot, right?
Yes, exactly. Or an ultra rare robot. And suddenly that's now like top couple of hundred, or top few hundred in the rarity rankings. And one other thing with the project that kind of happened somewhat by accident, early on when we were doing like live streams, we were like, we could actually have some like add-on items to these characters. And so just for like promotional purposes, we I think the first thing we did was like a 420 promotion where we were like, any Voxo minted on the 20th of April would come with like a spliff. So there's like a handful of Voxos that were like minted on that day that you can like toggle on and off like the spliff in the menu. And so that kind of opened the floodgates to this idea of having like add-ons. And so we ended up doing a whole bunch of different add-ons. So we've now got like a bunch of different pets. So we've got like dogs, cats, a llama, like
Yeah.
a bird,
There's a sort of phoenix thing.
a phoenix, 2 types of phoenixes, a snake. And so we had all these like add-on pets, and then we also partnered with another project called ZenFT. So they made all these like beautiful bonsai, procedurally generated NFTs. So this was like 8-9 months ago now, and so we partnered with them, and so a whole bunch of Voxos also come with like a voxel bonsai tree. Again, you can kind of like toggle on and off in the 3D viewer. And then finally, with our add-ons, we also offered a whole bunch of different like background scenes. So these are what you can kind of toggle on and off, like the background environments that each character's kind of sort of stood in. And so we ended up with like, I think 12 different background scenes and stuff. So with all of this, that then also added like the coup de grace of complexity to the collection, where the add-ons then also affect the rarity of the characters. And so members of the community actually kind of crafted the rarity structure of the collection as well, because they could at times choose which of their voxos to like apply these add-ons to. And so there are some voxos out there which might just be like a robot or a sapien, but because the owner has been like following really closely to the project, they've like stacked a bunch of add-ons to their character. And so now that's also like shot up in the rarity rankings. So yeah, hopefully what we created is just like this kind of real interesting, intricate project that if anyone's like a fan of collecting, which I think globally there's a lot of people who like collecting baseball cards, Pokemon cards, like figurines, whatever. There's a real like depth and richness to this first collection.
Yeah, that's cool. So if you were to sell one that had the spliff, like the person that bought it would also, the spliff would carry over, correct?
Yeah, exactly that.
So yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
And they've even, some of them have got a bong as well, just to really double down on the 420.
The spliff and bong ones, the prices are going to shoot up when the Snoop Dogg metaverse comes out.
Oh damn! Yeah, guys.
How
420s.
How long have you guys like when did you guys mint?
So we started minting in April of 2021. So like 10 months ago now. And then we had quite a long journey to minting out entirely. And so we only just minted out like a couple of weeks ago now. Because I think we were probably the last project to use a curved pricing model. Because we launched so long ago, at the time, every project pretty much was doing curve pricing. Like hash masks, for example, had like a really aggressive bonding curve and kind of sold out. But then somewhat unfortunately for us, Bored Apes launched a couple of weeks after us, and they kind of completely shifted the paradigm of how projects are priced. And so for those guys, they launched like super cheap flat pricing, 0.08 ETH. And then for us, we sold about half of the collection on the curved model. But for us, we started at like 0.1 ETH and then went to 0.3, 0.5, 0.9. And then we were kind of sat at 0.9, and that's where kind of minting slowed down, as like the Bored Apes sort of
change the trend, I guess.
Yeah, just change the game entirely. And so we were sitting at like 10 times the price of a Bored Ape to mint. So with that, we kind of adjusted and pivoted, but because we'd already sold like half the collection, we couldn't just drop our price down to like 0.1, because we also wanted to make sure people who had spent more were still like trued up. So for us, we found the sweet spot to be lowering the price down to 0.3 ETH, which we couldn't really go much lower than that because we basically just didn't have enough Voxos to like true up everyone. So with the people who minted at 0.9, we gave them 2 free Voxos. So that brought their average down to 0.3. And then anyone who minted at 0.5 got the chance to mint another Voxo at 0.1. So again, they had then 2 Voxos at 0.6 total, averaging out to 0.3 a Voxo. But with that though, it meant we were like still a pretty premium priced NFT, and then it was just a sea of 2D animal based profile pic kind of projects over summer. And so I think our project wasn't really suited for just like a quick flip. And so for us, we just went the more like slow and steady approach where, yeah, for the last year, we've just been working away, building out our different like offerings, building out our roadmap. And so it's just been good. It's like we've kind of sort of fostered this wonderful community. It's like really, really tight knit and just kind of, yeah, like gradually grown and got to selling out.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's impressive to be around that long. And like you said, I mean, just how quick the space moves and how fast things change from, to, the profile pictures to like now I feel like everyone's all hyped about whitelist and like really hyped up projects. And, I saw like the Pixelmon minted for like 3 Ethereum and just
it's wild,
absolutely crazy stuff. Real quick, I want to say in stream, we are about to hit 2,000 followers on the stream. We're less than 100 away. If you guys are not following the stream, make sure you guys are following the stream. And like I said, any questions that you guys have in the chat, feel free to ask. I did want to ask, so yeah, like these things look amazing. I really do think once Sandbox begins to actually come out to the public, because they're still they're in like alpha 2 right now, right? They haven't even hit beta for them. What exactly, say if I had one of these, what are all the things that I could do with it?
Sure. As far as it relates to the Sandbox, for example, we've got the sort of phase 1 and phase 2 avatar approach. So if you own a Voxo, you'll get to claim your phase 1 avatar, hopefully next month, or at least in the next 1 or 2 months. So as I mentioned previously, you'll be able to use that in your own game, in your own land, as NPCs, as display characters. If you've got like a mansion or whatever, you can have all your Voxos kind of on display. And we've got one avid collector, Smidge, as well, who's really, really bullish on the Sandbox, and he's got 350 Voxos now. So it's 5% of the supply.
Yeah,
he's just have a sort of wax museum of our entire universe.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's going to be pretty epic. We also have a 12 by 12 plot in the Sandbox. So with that, we're like building out some faction HQs. Okay. So we've got the 4 factions, and so we're building out like different kind of like playable areas type thing where people can just like explore, hang out, hopefully do some like quests and stuff in the future. And then later on in the year, or at least when the multiplayer comes out, each Voxo will then have a 1-of-1 avatar that will then link back directly to the Voxo NFT, and then that'll be their like persona in the metaverse, which is pretty sweet. And then we also have like things like the Voxo Cube and different accessory items that can be brought into the Sandbox. And in the next few months, we'll be issuing something called heirloom artifacts. And so these are like special weapons and things like that you can also use in the Sandbox as part of your character. So we've got like quite like a heavy leaning on the sandbox, but at the same time, we are offering like a whole host of other like sort of benefits to holders. So I can maybe like touch on a few different things as well that we have available to holders.
Yeah, we can do that.
So we also have like stunning 2D profile pictures. So by owning a Voxo, you'll get access to like your own kind of like 2D headshot for use on social media. You'll also get access to like all the native 3D files. So there, some members of our community already have made like different like rigged models. They've been like animating the Voxo characters. You should hopefully also be able to then bring those into some like other metaverses as well. And so we really want to just give people as much freedom and utility with these as possible. And then some other big things we have coming up. The most imminent is a 250 ETH Omega key game. So we're actually giving away 250 Ethereum, which is
wow.
750,000 USD.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, just a little bit. And so that actually starts the 22nd of February. Okay. So Voxo Fox, he's also one of the team members. So he's been masterminding a lot of the Omega Key game as well, and so we're in very good hands when it comes to this. And so the Omega Key game is going to be this kind of collecting, but also like high level strategy game where we will be randomly assigning the Robot and the Sapien characters Omega keys. So the Omega is the kind of the rarest character that kind of created the Cypherverse. And so I'll let Ben describe some of the lore we have around that in a minute.
I was like, oh, we're going into this. You go, man.
But maybe I'll just describe like how the game works first, and then we can describe the lore. Afterwards.
Totally.
But just from a pure like game mechanic, we've got the 4,095 robots, the 2,048 sapiens, so around 6,000 characters. And then we'll start the game on the 22nd of February by randomly issuing eight of those robots or sapiens a key. And then people need to try and like collect the keys and then register them on our website. And so each day will also reveal a new key. So the amount of keys will gradually be increasing in circulation. And so people need to try and like collect the keys, and then whoever collects 8 keys first unlocks the grand prize of 135 ETH. And then we have a second prize, a third, and a fourth prize. So second prize is first to collect 6 keys, and they unlock 66 Ethereum. Third prize is first to collect 4 keys, and they get 33 ETH. And the fourth prize is first to collect 3 keys, and they get 16 ETH. And the thing there is you've got to use a bit of like tactics and strategy to decide, do I want to just claim like the bottom prize when I've got my 3 keys, or do I try and go for 1 extra key to get a slightly higher prize? Or do I go and try and get the top prize with 8 keys?
So how do you collect the keys? Exactly.
This is a very good question. So you need to own that Voxo that then holds a key. And so once you've got it in your wallet, you go to our website and then click like register, and that sort of indicates to the smart contract that you own that key. You've kind of registered that key. But this is where it gets interesting, because you can then sell that key to someone else. So you can actually recoup some of the costs in acquiring the key. So you don't actually need to hold
the key once you already have it.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't need to hold all 8 at the same time. You just need to have owned and registered 8 keys to then claim the prize.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where it kind of the game theory and the tactics come into play, because once you've sold a key that you've registered, if someone else then claims any prize with that key, it's then no longer available. So it kind of becomes invalidated. So Voxofox is actually sharing on screen. You can go to our website, omegakeygame.voxodeus.io, and then you can see all the game rules. It's basically a mini thesis on how the game works.
So basically selling your key to kind of recoup the cost is also a little risky, because you could sell it to someone who could claim it and have more keys than you.
Exactly. So like, say if you're going for the 8 keys and then someone is happy with the bottom prize and they claim with 3 keys, then suddenly your keys that they've used are then invalidated. So then you're like knocked back. So it's like, do I go for the grand prize or do I take second prize? And it's I'm really excited to see how this plays out. And and obviously, because it's so much money, we were like, all right, we need to make sure this is airtight. So we were kind of consulting with like Oxford and Cambridge, like PhD game theorists and things like that, to try and make sure what we're creating is like really robust, but also completely fair and transparent. And so with the keys themselves, we're using like Chainlink to like 100% on-chain verify the randomness of like which Voxos get the keys, and they will be only revealed on like a daily basis. So we don't know ahead of time until literally the point of reveal, like which Voxo has a key. And then on our website, we'll be like officially announcing each day which new Voxo has the key or has a key, and then we'll have the full list. And then we've also created this like pretty cool table that shows how many people have used that key or have owned the key previously, and then compare that to how many keys they currently hold or have registered, and then that will give you like a score, like a quality score for each key.
Purity.
Yeah, purity score. So if no one's like registered the key, it's like 100% pure. But if it's got like four previous owners who've all registered, then you're probably at quite a high risk that one of those guys is going to like claim a prize and invalidate the key. So then that will have like a lower score. So again, we just want to try and make it as like transparent, fair, open as possible. And again, do as much of this on chain. So that's kind of how the key game is structured. And then Ben, you can maybe explain a little bit of the lore around.
Yeah, that was a trip. Making like part of this process is almost like retrofitting mechanics that have to be, because of the advice we're getting, into the lore. And like the broad strokes of the story was always kind of designed and written. We have this universe where there's this character, this Omega, that sort of came and made it safe and then disappeared, and it poses a mystery. Why has it gone? Where has it gone? And a lot of, I think, like community lore leaning, as in the focus of the community has been on like, well, where is the Omega? It's kind of intrinsically interesting because it's the most valuable NFT. It's one of a kind. It's just a whole bunch of cubes floating on top of some nice rainbows. And like what we're doing with this is furthering the story of the Omega. And so as the keys release, or rather as the keys are claimed, there'll be obviously 4 stages. We'll be kind of dumping lore on the community and kind of updating the story of where the Omega went, or a little bit about like other things that have happened to make sense of that. And to kind of go back to what you were saying as well about, or asking with the Sandbox, like it's a similar thing there, where at every opportunity, whether it's with an Omega game or partnering with the Sandbox, the idea is to look at what we have in front of us and go like, how can we make this interesting for us to work on, and how can we make it like fun to interact with. And so like the sandbox is, like you say, it's in early alpha stages, but we can already see that it would be cool to have some sort of ARG stuff going on, or like like little mysteries that you can do that maybe get an airdrop into your wallet if you're playing and you already own a Voxo. And that's kind of the approach. Like we're still waiting to see what the mechanics will be at multiplayer, but we know that by having a 12x12 in this space, like we can throw all of our like game design creative at it and just make these interesting pockets of things for people to do.
Yeah.
Because we, you know, it's the same for us. Like we want to make spaces that we want to be in as well. And so that's kind of the overall approach. I think to the specific story, of like the Omega game, I'm not going to say too much because the first story drop will be like as we start distributing keys, but the point is it very much follows the like where did the Omega go, which was the Voxo that went after the Omega trying to find it, and why did the Omega leave. And so that's kind of what we'll be unraveling as these keys distribute themselves on a kind of mechanism that was left by the Omega to make them start spewing out.
And also, just as a slightly wider point with that as well, we're also partnering with Myth Division to create a series of comics as well. And so we really want to be kind of expanding the lore across multiple fronts. And so for anyone who also owns a Voxo, you'll get airdropped like the first issue of the comic as an NFT as well. So we're basically just trying to like give people as much as possible for owning one of our Voxos. And so with that, we'll be also like unraveling a lot of the lore through a series of these comics that kind of form a wider graphic novel. We've also got like the Sandbox to explore different like narrative threads as well through like different environments and quests. We're also partnering with Ether Cards to issue all holders a hero card. So this is kind of a digital like baseball card type collector item. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Ether Cards, but they are again like another OG project, and they've got these like really cool dynamic NFTs. And so each character will come with like a matching like hero card that has all the stats and like some different like or at least the potential for different game mechanics in the future. And so just by like owning a Voxo, you get a phase 1 avatar NFT, you get the playable phase 2 avatar in the Sandbox like later in the year, you'll get a Voxo comic, you'll get a hero card, again all as separate NFTs, and then you'll also get access to like some different like artwork drops and things like that. So just circling back to your original question is like, what do you kind of get for like being part of this project? That's the first like offering. But then I know we're like running out of time. I mean, it's absolutely flown by. I told you there's no shutting me up. So just
no, you're fine. This has been great.
Talk about like all of this for hours. So as far as like the roadmap goes, that's some of like our high level deliverables. And then we're also working on a follow-up project. And so Voxodeus is like the Genesis collection of the Cypherverse. But then we're also launching a new type of collection, which we're calling Cypherkin. So these are more like creature type characters. And again, simple man, I love Pokemon, but we're going to be having these characters have like 2 to 3 different levels of evolution. So they can kind of start as like a Charmander and then evolve into a Charizard type thing. And then at each level, you'll get like an NFT for the new evolved state. And then you'll be able to do like different things to kind of care for the character, level it up. And so what this is all leading towards is like a wider play to earn ecosystem. So everything we're trying to create is like laying the foundations for this much larger sort of framework. And so getting getting like a Voxo is like the kind of the genesis piece of everything that's still to come.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's a lot of stuff. I was gonna say with the hero cards, it would be cool. I don't know the exact company, but I've seen them like where people get slabs of their like Bored Ape. I feel like it would be cool. It would be cool if like you could like claim your NFT like one time. Like say if someone bought it after you'd already claimed it, like they couldn't claim it again, but get like a physical like slab of your hero card. That would be cool.
That's super cool. I could maybe try and reach out to the guys who do the Bored Ape ones and see. Like, if you burn your hero card, maybe you can claim like a physical copy or something.
Yeah, yeah, that would be cool. But I did want to say in the stream, guys, afterwards, we are going to be raiding Dizzy's channel in celebration of Voxodeus coming on the SandStorm. He's going to be playing games and doing some giveaways. So after the show, don't leave the channel. But
I have a question about what's currently on the screen, if I may ask.
Okay.
It's the robot that's dancing on the other character's head. Is that because it's an NPC that you can get up there? And if not, how many people can stack up vertically? Like, can you get like 30 people vertically here, or is that? I
don't know.
Like,
I don't know if he walks, like if he was to walk to an area where like someone else could jump on top.
Can another player jump on your head, and can you just keep going? Like,
this is going to be a challenge. Who can build the coolest
breakdancing on a woman's head for so long now? Oh, I guess it's only the NPCs that have.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Delightful. That's a shame. You would need a whole bunch of NPCs. Don't worry about it. Sorry.
Yeah.
in our land, Ben, let's actually make like a staggered platform, and so people can like hop on at each level, and let's see how big of a robot tower we can make.
You want to stand on NPCs on NPCs? Come to our 12 by 12.
It's just NPCs all the way down.
Nothing but that. Yeah.
Well, I do appreciate you guys coming on today. This was a great conversation. I really like what you guys are doing with the project, and
thank you.
I think these things look great.
Thank you.
Any closing thoughts?
Just shout out as well to the Sandbox artists who adapted our characters to the Sandbox. Like, I think they've done a marvelous job, because you can see, like, the proportions are slightly different, and so they had to kind of edit things, and there's some creative license there. But I think they did a tremendous job. So well done, guys.
Truly. A massive thank you to Cami and Voxel Bunny for like really leading the charge with all of this. So yeah, it's just great being part of this space and just getting to like connect with so many brilliant and talented people. It's super impressive to see kind of what can be created, and especially in like such a relatively short time as well. And
at an early stage, right? Like we know that, like we said, it's alpha, so there's so much ahead, but it's just like it's nice to be right at the point where we can be testing to see what we can do as it starts to pull together and become a multiplayer thing.
Yeah. And also just a massive thank you to you guys for what you're doing. It's super awesome to actually get some early exposure to the Sandbox, for you guys to really show just a taste of like what's possible and what's to come with this, and for giving, like, at least for us, like a world premiere, like of all of our, well, not all of, but a lot of our kind of characters and avatars. It's like super cool to see them in the wild.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's great.
Awesome.
I'd say, like, if you guys didn't come on, we would just be sitting here talking to ourselves. So I appreciate you guys coming on. I think it was a great show. I want to thank you guys for tuning in the stream. Make sure you guys do follow. There's 176 you guys in here. I want to see the stream hit 2,000 followers. I don't know if we're there yet or not, but just follow. Just
follow.
And remember, we are going to be rating Game Dizzy stream after this. And yeah, thank you guys very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And for anyone who's not already following us, you can follow us on Twitter at Voxodeus, and then also join our Discord, discord.gg/Voxodeus. And so it's spelled VOXODEUS.
Yep.
As it's in my name. Awesome.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Thanks.
Well,
Thanks again.
yeah.
Thanks again.
Thank
I'm
you,
so
guys.
sorry. I didn't realize it was gonna rate automatically.
What is going on,
Dude, hold on,
guys?
wait.
What is happening?
I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second here. God, I do not have any audio for some reason. Bear with me, guys.